What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the TB Toycast YouTube channel, and it is Saturday, and that means it's time once again for What's on the Pegs. Always a lot of fun to see my weekly toy hunts. Of course, this is episode 28, and I'm doing something a little bit different this week because this is going to be a special edition episode all about me and my nephew checking out Retromania. It was a big toy show here in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area where we are at. And me and him always like to hit up the cons and see what we can find. And as always, this was a con that didn't disappoint. A lot of cool stuff here at Retromania. And a lot of fun to check out. My nephew he didn't pick up a toy. He found this Batman gaming combo set, and he had to grab it. It's got a keyboard that lights up, a mouse, and a headset. He thought that was the coolest thing ever. He's kind of growing out of action figures and getting more into gaming. So this was perfect for him. So he's also got a YouTube channel, Wyson World. Go check that out. I had to stop and take a picture of these Chips action figures. Are you kidding me? I knew they did G.I. Joe style, but I did not know about these. So I saw these. I was like, wow, that is interesting. So I had to get a picture of those still in package. That was pretty cool. But this table had a lot of stuff. Of course, Starsky and Hutch, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy. It was a pretty happening table. Rocky figures. There was a lot of stuff over there. Dukes of Hazzard. I didn't get a good picture of those. I didn't really see them at the time. I was trying to go through this quickly. But definitely a cool setup there. You know, a lot of Mego-style figures, which had been making a comeback here in the last few years. So kind of cool to see. More like dolls, so it's never been something that interests me too much. But still cool to see when you can. These are always fun. Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. Of course, these came out from Toy Biz in the mid-90s. Very similar to your X-Men style figures. And of course, you know, this was a very popular show at the time. I loved this show as a kid. I had no idea how campy it was, but as a kid, I thought this show was awesome. All the crazy monsters and stuff. Of course, you got the third version of Hercules and Iolus there. I've picked up a few of these over the years, but it's never been a line I've dove too deep into. But it's cool they got a toy line. Any popular TV show or movie definitely needs a toy line. I've always agreed with that. And then it's interesting with the popularity growing of the DC Super Friends. It was cool to see these. It was the 1966 Batman and the Joker. That Batman, a little harder to find, and I believe this is the original Batman from Wave 1. And the original Joker, I think he was from Wave 1 or Wave 2. But I don't know, like, to me, they don't really fit with the Super Friends. Because the Joker needs to look a little bit more comic book-esque to me. The only ones I'm making an exception on are the characters that probably won't get a Super Friends figure. So a King Tut, a Bookworm, Egghead, those guys. Yeah, I'll pick those up. But this Joker, it's like, they made another Joker that'll work. So I'm going to stick with that. But again, everybody collects a little bit differently. And these were cool to see in 25 or 20. Not a bad price, honestly. So seeing those there was definitely pretty cool. Ton of Mattel Elites. A ton of Elites over the years. Of course, guys like Kevin Nash, Fake Diesel, that's a fun one. A couple of different versions of Keith Lee. We got Samoa Joe, which is a fun one because he's been in AEW for a minute now. A couple of versions of Hulk Hogan, Kofi Kingston, the Velveteen Dream, a little bit of a controversial one there, so definitely cool to see those. Not bad prices on a lot of these either. Most of these I had or didn't need, so I didn't really dive into them too much. Fake Diesel would have been a pickup for me if I didn't already own him, but still cool to see. I hope someday we get a fake Razor. We got to complete that. That would just be absolutely epic. As of right now, it hasn't happened, but definitely cool to see these. Lots of cool Marvel Legends here, too. Of course, we got this X-Men wave that built the Tri-Sentinel. I've always thought this was interesting, except I hate that the names are in like that weird thing, and I'm sure that has something to do with the characters, but I'm like, I can't even read that. Like, what are we doing here? But there's a Cyclops from this wave that looks really cool. That Age of Apocalypse Cyclops is really fun there with like the long hair. I've always been a Cyclops mark, so there's a lot more Cyclops figures I want to get. That Secret Empire Captain America, I do own that in my collection. That's a really cool figure. And of course, What If Captain Carter is pretty cool. So it's always fun to see different Marvel Legends anytime you hit a show like this or a different toy shop. Lots of starting lineup. These are always a lot of cool to see. We got Deion Sanders there, $8, not a bad deal there. We got Juan Gonzalez, $5. Again, you're not breaking the bank on these, which is always fun. Florence Griffith Joyner from Track and Field. Hey, I have no idea who that is, but how cool is she got a figure? You know, that's pretty fun. Hockey player, we got Mario Lumiere. I'm just assuming that's how you say his name. Never got any of the hockey ones, but that's still kind of cool. 1994 edition, $6. Again, not super expensive, so definitely cool. A couple of G.I. Joes there, and a Jar Jar Binks kind of hiding up there in the corner a little bit. Looks like it's a Black Series too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but it looks like it's definitely a Black Series figure, so always kind of cool. A lot of Star Wars figures out there, which makes it fun, keeps the line fresh with a bunch of new characters. This was cool to see. This is, of course, not the clearest picture, unfortunately, but it is some Mythic Legions, and then Father Christmas. I don't remember how much that one was, but I know that was kind of an expensive one. But $30 and $35 for a couple of different Legions figures, you can't beat that. That's really cool. I go hot and cold with Legions. Sometimes I want them. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. And again, that's what I like about a toy show. You literally just see stuff you wouldn't normally pick up or see out in the wild. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I didn't buy a lot. I bought a couple of cheap Star Wars figures and a couple of cheap Star Trek figures, but nothing else was really, calling my name. So I'm a big believer. If you don't see something you want, you don't have to buy anything. But that's just how I look at it. Some Alien and Predator figures. Of course, these came out, I believe, from Kenner back in the day. Is that right? And, man, these Predator figures they've always been really cool. Stalker Predator. We got Spike Tail Predator. A couple of different Alien figures. I remember these never hit my radar back in the day. But, man, if you look at them now, these are actually really cool. But, again, these are kind of like horror movies that they've kind of modernized to put into figure form. So I think as a kid, it didn't really strike me as like something I needed. But they are really cool. So mileage may vary on these. $30 for the Stalker Predator. That's a little expensive. $40 for the Spike Tail Predator. It is meant on cards. I guess, if it's something you're into, maybe it's a good deal. If you're not, maybe not so much. But again, everyone collects differently, and that's the fun thing about it. Rambo figures, man, from Coleco, I think. I don't remember a lot about these. But, man, these are really cool. And for a guy to have so many of these, I thought this was awesome. And I didn't really ask like a specific price because I was like, these meant on card, they're probably going to be a little bit expensive. But, man, I really like these. They kind of almost look like bigger G.I. Joes, which I'm all for. And I don't know. I'm always all about like a old school figure. I just think that's fun. And, Rambo was a hot property back in the day. So I don't know if this is the complete collection of these or not, especially with that black and white ninja there, white dragon, black dragon, you definitely get some G.I. Joe vibes, which, I don't know, these are really cool, really fun characters, unique looks, Turbo, General Warhawk, I mean, those are just cool names. This would be a collection I would love to have at some point, but man, they're probably going to be a little costly, but still cool to see. And again, that's what is fun about these type of toy shows, fun, unique, different things. I dig it. A bunch of wrestling here, in fact, a ton of wrestling. You can see there, kind of at the bottom, we got some superstars, Muda, Andre the Giant. We got a Heels and Faces Raiden kind of hiding down there. We got a Diesel, superstars. We got a Fiend, Masters of the WWE Universe. That's kind of fun. A couple of Ultimates of Ultimate Warrior and Ric Flair. We got a Mr. America Elite. We got a Macho Man Legends. We got an Ultimate Macho and Hulk Hogan. We got a Keith Lee, one of 3,000. A Zeus superstars kind of hiding. A Danhausen up above. Looks like it's autographed. $90 takes that one home. So a little bit on the expensive side, but still very cool. A lot of cool wrestling figures. And again, the Ric Flair doesn't have WWE figures anymore. Neither does Macho Man. So if you want to get a couple of those, this is a way to do it. So I think that's really cool. Didn't pick any of those up, but it was cool to see. Had to get a picture of these. These were like the classic Adventure Team G.I. Joe figures from back in the day. These are reprints, though. I did look it up because I was like, wow, are those from the 60s or 70s? No, those from like 2005, I think, or 2006. A little disappointing there, but again, still cool to see. Not something I need or something I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get those, but it is cool to see. And again, that's what a toy show is all about. It's almost like a time capsule of toys, a time capsule of what was going on in that very moment, and I think that's always kind of cool. So seeing the G.I. Joes, always a lot of fun. So this is kind of the more real American hero G.I. Joes most of us remember. A lot of cool ones on here. These are, of course, the kind of the later waves, like the Battle Corps or the Star Brigade. I remember these were always kind of more unique looking and more like modernized, more colorful. They were trying to get away from like just straight military, which I can appreciate. I think these were cool looking figures. Like I said, this is like this Dr. Mindbender. Like that's an amazing looking figure. This is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but again, I think they're really cool. Always cool to see an original Game Boy. I love the Game Boy. I always thought this was fun. Look at all these games. Super Mario Land, one of my favorites. Tecmo Bowl, always a classic. The Castlevania adventure. Gotta love it. Home Alone, Marble Madness, Gremlins 2, Monopoly, World Cup, Final Fantasy, Fortress of Fear, Wizards and Warriors 10, Fortress of Fear, and of course an original Game Boy there. I didn't even check a price. There's a couple of loose games as well. Because you know something like this is not going to be cheap. But it's really cool to see. I've been seeing an ad on my Facebook for this new Game Boy they're making. And it's like got a metal base, but it plays old Game Boy games. And I'm like, if it wasn't like $200, yeah, I'd probably buy that. But unfortunately, it is $200. So it's like, yeah, I'll pass for now. How about that? And of course, some more Star Wars Black Series figures. A bunch of these. Buy one item, get a second one 50% off. Not a bad deal, of course. But again, no one I really needed here, and I didn't really check the prices. And again, like I said, I dabble with Star Wars anyway. So to me, it's all about, like, let's just see what I can find and kind of go from there. I'm not too worried about, like, oh my gosh, look at this crazy, insane deal. Like, I got to get all these. Nah, this guy, that guy, that'll be fine. And I kind of went with that. So nothing here that struck me, but it is cool to see it, a cool display. And like I said, I highly recommend if you have a toy show or some type of convention in your area and you have the means to go check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think it helps. To me, like, I like supporting them because maybe that will mean more of them will come and more of them will be around. And, you know, if that happens more often, then that's good for my town, for more collectors and things like that. So I always try to support when I can. And I recommend you guys do as well. But that's it. That's all I got for this edition of What's on the Pegs, a special edition. Hope you guys enjoy it. As always, drop it every Saturday. And, of course, check out my unboxing videos. 3 unboxing videos every single week. Always a lot of fun. And so this week, of course, we had some great unboxing videos on Monday. I unboxed Leonardo from the McFarlane Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Page Punchers line. That was a lot of fun. That came up on Monday. On Wednesday, it was the British Bulldog from the Mattel Mattel Creations New Gen box. Always a lot of fun there. And on Friday, a really cool one, Hasbro Marvel Legends Dracula. Who could? I mean, you got to get Dracula, right? Come on, how cool is that? So that was a lot of fun. That was this past week on the TB Toycast YouTube channel. So check those out. Always a lot of fun. Check out the TB Toycast podcast, wherever you get your podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday with me and Travis. We have a different main event, as well as all the news and happenings in the toy world that particular week. Always a good time. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you all for checking out the TB Toycast YouTube channel and What's on the Pegs. And we will see you in the toy aisle.
Yeah. One more time. It ain't over till I say it's over. So lock the cage up, cause this is a takeover. The wait's over. If this the final time we meet, then you'll be on your back on my feet. Then I'll tip the cage over as a hangover. I'm super fly so I can splash off the top. And I can shut down the shot.